What is up, everybody? Thank you for joining us for our second Racing Dudes Kentucky Daily Show for April 28th. I am with Jared Welch, Aaron Haltman, and Mike Stomich, and maybe a couple special guests will be popping in. We'll see what happens here. Just the big news of the day, Taiba, however you want to say his name, had his first work. Jared, I'm going to pull it up on the screen here, but you are the official president from our team of the Taiba fan club. So what did you think about Taiba's workout here?
Not great, I would say. I'm definitely not an expert in workouts, so it's hard to, it's like, who knows, but I kind of pulled up his last several works, prior to the Cincinnati Derby, and I don't know, to me, he looks like, he's the horse he's working with, horse named American Admiral, that's not good, right? And he just kind of hung with them. And yeah, when he asked him to go, but it definitely felt like when you watch it visually. Now, if you look at the times, it was very comparable to pretty much an identical workout that he got prior to the Cincinnati Derby. But then you watch the works, and that work, he looked a lot more relaxed and just kind of cruised. This one, as you can see here on the screen, he's there on the outside, and you kind of keep waiting for him to just kind of cruise on, keep going, right? Just kind of keep going by, and he never really does. He's asking a little bit of him here just to go by. Usually he'd take off and be gone. So honestly, it's like the worst possible work for in terms of like my decision, because it's not like visually terrible, but it's also not like visually great where I was like ready to pull the trigger. You know what I mean? So I feel like I watched it. Now I'm still on the fence of, am I going to pick him or not?
Yeah, Mike, you had some choice four-letter words for this work. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Your feelings on this?
Yeah, I'm not stoked here. Not gonna lie. It looks like the jockey on American Admiral was like, "Hey, where you at? Waiting for you. You gonna come on by here?" Which isn't necessarily the greatest sign. I mean, even Jared's kids are laughing at Taiba's workout right now. To me, this is one of those where, like, I almost wish I never saw this workout. I wish I could just close my eyes. I wish I could just like obliterate this part of my mind and say, "Yeah, you never saw this." Because to be honest, this makes me not want to pick him. And when he wins the Derby after this, and I don't have him on top because of this, I'm gonna be pissed.
Aaron, we talked yesterday's show about that. We usually don't put too much stock into workouts there. Oh boy, American Animal got a little funky there. I didn't notice that the first time. Do you make anything of this at all?
Well, let's make a couple of facts about what's happened here. Number one, that is a maiden claimer that he's working with. Okay, so it's not a great horse, and I think that's important because it did kind of seem like the jockey was asking him, get by. A little bit like Sammy said, it almost felt like the jockey of American Admiral was kind of just like, where you at, buddy? You coming? Because you're supposed to beat me here. I don't take a lot into workouts. I don't really care. I'm glad he worked. That's the good news. Mm-hmm. Our buddy John White sent us something that I thought was interesting. He said, he talked about Taiba's not that big of a horse, so don't be alerted by that. Like he's just not that big of a horse. But the big thing, he said, Taiba was pushed pretty hard to work 6 furlongs in 112.8. When Messier worked 5 furlongs, he did it in 59.8, and then he galloped out in 112 flat. So Messier's gallop out to the 6 furlong point was faster than Taiba, being pushed and actually working a legitimate 6 furlongs. Again, what does it really all mean? I mean, as Allen Iverson said, we're talking about practice, boys, right? I don't, but he worked. It didn't look great, but at least he was out there.
Yeah.
At least he was out there. That's the takeaway for today.
Well, that's just it. Like, it's all seriousness. It's like, I didn't necessarily, prior to the Cincinnati Derby, I wasn't like focused on his work, and I just knew that he was working, and he worked, and then he ran. And the one thing about him is you can see he ran, like I mentioned it before, like how close he like resembles his dad right here. Once he really gets into him, he gets his head down and he's all business. So, you just kind of wonder if like he just isn't a great workhorse. And really, when it comes time to, when Mike Smith basically gets him to where it's like, okay, you need to go run down Epicenter or whatever, he puts that head down and who cares what the works have been prior? Like, he's going to go do business and get it done. So that's the issue with him, right? Like, I don't think any of us are going to sit here and argue that you don't think that's very possible, if not likely. But I don't know. What can you expect from a workout that a horse that doesn't work well? I don't know.
Yeah, I went back and looked at the Clocker report for the DRF Clocker report from Santa Anita Derby Day, and Messier was coming in with much higher. Like, he had a B+6 for long work, and Taiba had a B-6 for long work. And the report was saying that Velasquez was statuesque, and Messier was so smooth in the work, and that Taiba was just kind of blowing around the track. And then you get to the race day, and it didn't matter. So I think I thought it was best put that, listen, he was out there, he worked. As Nick says, he worked and he shipped into Kentucky. That's good enough for me. Yeah, he didn't fall apart, right? He didn't fall over. You shouldn't affect this work shouldn't affect your opinion of Taiba one way or the other.
Let me correct what you just said and what Nick just said. He has not shipped to Kentucky just yet. We got 2 days of cooling out after this. How did he come out of it before we get on that plane? And you laugh, Magic, but that's the biggest 2 days of the whole thing.
I'm laughing because you tried so hard yesterday to not say that Taiba was not going to make it to the Kentucky Derby, and you're already jumping in today to not say
if you got a horse that's on the fence, it's the day or two after they work when you get the call if you're going or not. So that's these next 2 days. I mean, it's serious. I'm being serious. It's the make or break days. They're getting on the plane Sunday morning. We'll see. Messier, Doppelganger, I think they're going. We'll see if Taiba's there. I mean, I'm not saying he's not going to be, but that's the big 2 days of the 2 days coming up.
Yeah. The scary part about this is you kind of have the feeling, maybe it's just me, but I have the feeling that even if he goes in here and wins and looks awesome or does his Santa Anita Derby type, like, you just work, like, there's no way this horse is going to be able to get through the Triple Crown. He just this is the horse that we're wondering it can get back in 4 weeks after the Santa Anita Derby. You're asking 2 more, 3 races in 5 weeks. I mean, maybe all things are possible under the wonderful umbrella of Bob Baffert, but it just seems very unlikely. I mean, we're trying to get this horse from the gate of the Kentucky Derby, and so you worry about that, the overall picture with him. By the way, I have to at least mention this real fast. So I just helped my boys because they're wanting to watch me on here on their iPad, and Cohen my oldest uses voice and he said, like, I looked at the past recent search and it said "Daddy horse racing video with Aaron on it."
Easy enough.
Anyways, oddly enough, it didn't pop up. But anyways,
Magic, you got to work on the titles on the underneath part of it.
Oh God, it's a constant battle with the SEO. I tell you.
I love the Kevin. I love that Kevin's getting the Barber Road following riled up already here in the chat. The American Admiral comment.
Poke the bear.
I don't think he worked the same time as Barber Road, did he?
No, he was
4
116.
Yeah, he was 4 seconds fast. I thought he was talking about maybe American Admiral works the same time as Barber Road.
No, we're sitting here going, oh, that didn't look great, and he worked 4 faster than Barber Road.
Vinny says as long as he doesn't make the Preakness, he doesn't owe anybody a lunch. So,
well, I mean, he missed a workout off his maiden win too. I mean, it took him, I think it was 13 days to get back to the track after his maiden victory. So it's not like this is a new thing for Taiba either. So assuming that he's going to be back in 2 weeks running another race after the Derby seems a little bit far fetched at this point.
Yeah.
There we go. I knew that comment would.
It wasn't even us.
No, I didn't start it.
By the way, I gotta give it was Shoddy, right, that did the picture.
Oh my God,
incredible!
Fantastic! You gotta pull that up. While I'm talking about other things here. But Shoddy, that was unbelievable. I loved it. So accurate, and I hope it happens.
That's a real artistic talent too. I could not draw a horse that well in years.
Yeah, very well drawn.
And she just whipped it up. I mean, it was pretty quick after the show that it was up. So, okay. So, but seriously, and I know we still have, like Halterman said, a couple days of prior to shipping, and of course the week of, and he'll be out on the track and he'll look amazing because he does. Where are we at? I mean, I know I think Samich was the only, and Halterman that was on the fence at one point with Taiba on top. Me and Samish have table on top currently, I think. How are we sitting here, Samish? Do we need to talk privately, you and I, to kind of get through this?
We might, because I don't know if I have tape on top anymore. And this is the problem with watching these freaking workouts. Look, if the horse ships, I'm probably going to talk myself back into liking this horse. And to be clear, this is whether or not I think this horse finishes first or second. Like it's either top pick or like top 3 here. I'm not going to drastically drop down because of one workout. If they ship the horse out to Kentucky, I assume the horse is right and ready to go. I assume we're going to see a good effort from it. So I'm not going to like downgrade Taba to like, 15th, 18th, whatever. Now, if you talk to me about Messier and Taba may be the more likely winner. Messier is the more likely one to hit the board. I mean, you could say that the variance is much, much greater with those two horses. But to me, it's Messier or Taba right now, which is kind of wild walking into this, that this, again, a Baffert horse, again, a California horse, a week out that I'm going to be focused on the draw on and see where they draw. And if they do draw well, I think one of the two is going to end up being my pick. I'm leaning Messier right now, but I think it's Messier or Taba neck and neck right now.
I'm kind of with you in terms of if it's not him, it's Messier. And to me, that's even more frustrating and difficult because we're talking about a horse that he just beat easily. That he, you know what I mean? And it's like now, and then so if Taba goes and wins again, you're going to say, really? I picked Messier to beat him after he just did that to him the Sancing the Derby. That's my issue with him. I get it. I'm kind of with you on that, in that camp a little bit with Messier being, if I'm not going to pick Taba, it's probably going to be Messier, just the way he's kind of working prior. And it definitely feels like, you know, if you watch and kind of look at some of the writing on the wall, like Yak Teen thinks that this horse is about to run big. Like, you know, thinks that he kind of seems more high on Messier than Taba.
You need to take a map. Go listen to an interview with Yak Teen. Holy hell. He is the most boring guy I've ever listened to.
I just got the clip notes. That's all.
I literally was doing this, and I was really interested in what he was having to say, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh!" Anyway,
Shoddy, yeah. So I couldn't find the there was a workout right before the St. A Derby. I think it was like the 30th or 31st, 6 furlong work, almost identical time. On ExpressBet, I could not find that particular workout. Now, I did look at his couple other ones, the 5 furlong works, where he looked a little different. So, yeah, I want to see that 6 furlong work to compare it to this 6 furlong work to see if it's any different. All I can say is what I saw in the 5 furlong works, he looked, I thought, dramatically better in those works than he did today. But I'm not a workout guy, so I don't know.
You know, I will say a lot of people are saying, Baffert's calling the shots. It doesn't really matter. I mean, let's pretend there's a world where he's not calling every shot. You know, after that Yak Teen video that I watched, this guy, I didn't realize he worked for Charlie Whittingham. You know, he's been around really, really good horses when he was with Whittingham. Of course, he worked for Baffert. I mean, this is not an idiot. This guy knows what he's doing. He's been around horses, you know, all his professional life. I don't have any problems with Yak Teen, and if he is in fact calling shots, he's probably going to be just fine, you know. So that was something that kind of eased my mind. Like I said, I just didn't know a whole lot about the guy until that interview. So yeah, like Wicked Felina says here. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. This is not a rookie. This is not a guy, you know, that's never been around a good horse before.
He's actually walked the horse to the saddling ring for the Derby too. I mean, so it's like you said, Aaron. It's not like this is just a guy coming out of complete left field and Baffert's just telling him what to do or whispering in his ear. Now, I wouldn't be shocked if Baffert is heavily engaged in the process of decision making here. But Yak Teen is a relatively good trainer in his own right.
Jared, you're right. They do not have that workout anywhere on XP. I've been looking all over the place for it. It's like,
and it's funny too because you talk about like, you know, Sandwich, I think brought it up yesterday about how, like, you know, you never know what these works and, you know, what are being, you know, documented and not, and it's like that's weird that you can't seem to find the work prior to that.
Here's a good question from Kevin, kind of on the Yak Teen. He trained and it can transition us to other horses. But odds we get a first-time trainer winning the Derby have to be about 1 in 100, right, Mike? You usually like to play these props.
Man, if you want to offer me the other side of that, I'll take the other side of that happily. I mean, yes, with the way that this is breaking out, you're going to see 2 yak teams that are going to be in the top 5 in the odds choices. Asmussen's probably going to be the favorite with Epicenter. Chad Brown and Zandon's there. But I mean, you've got other horses that are going to make some noise here. I think you're going to be at least a little scared of Classic Causeway. I did a pace video today, and I'm shocked by some of the pace numbers. I can pull them up at some point if you guys want to talk about that during this show as well. I also think you got to respect Mo Donegal on some front. I think you got to look at Charge It. White Abaria would be a new winner as well. So, I mean, he'd be a first-time trainer on that list. So there's a lot of forces that it's Todd Pletcher, I guess, who's won the Derby before, that has any of the major contenders. And outside of that, everyone's really a new shooter from the trainer side.
Let me see if I find something else here. All right, Vashon, let's go to Epicenter because Davey didn't like the low for Epicenter. He's going to blow the Twin Spires off the Churchill Downs circuit. One thing that I like about Epicenter compared to if I was debating Epicenter versus Taba is that Epicenter, you can look at the long list of horses that he beat. I mean, the Risen Star alone had 4 or 5 horses that go to the Derby that he beat. And then you look at Taba beat Messier. Messier beat Forbidden Kingdom. Messier lost to Slow Down Andy. To me, I don't like how that looks. So from a form perspective and a class perspective, I'm with Vashon here. But Aaron, if I was to present that argument and say that's why I like Epicenter, is that a valid argument, or is Taba that good visually?
I don't know how it couldn't be a valid argument, right? I mean, this horse has beaten, tons of horses that are going to be in the race. Like I said, he beat the Sunland Derby winner. He beat the Lexington winner. He beat the Bluegrass winner and the runner-up, So, yeah, he is the prototypical, this horse is going to win the Kentucky Derby. And he also, because he checks so many boxes off, he's kind of the boring pick in a way, It's just like, oh, yeah, well, sure. He beat all these horses, and he can win gate to wire, and he can win off the pace. And, his speed figures are nothing like tremendously crazy, but they're all very solid. So he makes sense. And if you're going to go the who did they beat angle, it's 100% him. When you think about Messier, and you think about who he's beaten as a 3-year-old, it ain't good, folks. But his times his speed figures are better, and it's just what you want to believe in that regard.
Let's talk about Crown Pride's coming up a little bit in the chat here. This should be fun. Scorpio, big fan of Crown Pride, gonna bet $20 across the board. Kevin wants to know, are these reputable horse racing analysts on Twitter who claim Crown Pride actually has a shot? Are they trolling? Or, Aaron, do people in our industry really think Crown Pride has a shot to win?
Oh, I know a lot of people in our industry, and yeah, I think that's probably not trolling. That's probably their opinions. Look, I'm gonna like, a lot of people liked Rattle and Roll all year, right? And I'm gonna say the same thing about Crown Pride that I've said about Rattle and Roll. He's not for me. If he's for you, great. He's not for me.
Where was that niceness yesterday when we talked about Barber Road?
Well, Crown Pride's a better horse than Barber Road.
Correct.
So we'll just start there. Look, it's not trolling. I think a lot of people want to be on the right side of this Japan thing too. I think what we saw at the Breeders' Cup and having multiple Japan horses win there, and what we saw in Saudi Arabia, and what we saw over in Dubai, Japan is clearly on the upswing, and I think a lot of people want to try and get out in front of that. And we talked about, the odds in the future pool going from 50-1 to 24-1 on Crown Pride in the fifth future pool. But it's not like this is an unpopular opinion. I think this horse is going to get hammered underneath. I said it yesterday. I think that this horse is going to be like 4 or 5-1 to be in the Super, which seems wildly low to me for a race that's produced 0 horses ever to hit the Super in the Kentucky Derby. UAE Derby, 0 horses have ever hit the Super. 1 horse has finished 5th, so there's that. But it's not great.
If Mendelssohn can't do it, ain't nobody can do it. Dr. Miranda, our local, said Crown Pride is an automatic throughout for her. She was on the backside over the weekend. Crown Pride uncomfortable looking at Churchill Downs. I did hear about the rider getting lost and the horse had to get caught. We also talked this morning, Aaron and I, about the fact that Dale Romans is helping the Japanese prepare this horse for the Kentucky Derby. I don't know if you saw his workout. He had the funkiest looking goggles. They were like giant plastic cups, but just like in the front. It was just to protect the kickback. And they said, oh, we do that because of the kickback. And we don't think he's going to like that during the training. And I'm like, okay, you're training with 1 other horse and you're worried about the kickback. You're going to have 19 horses giving him kickback in the Derby. No, thank you. Like Dale Romans is probably just saying like, this will help him get there, but this is not going to help him win.
He's not for me. He's just not. The UAE Derby horses will never be for me. until they prove they can do it. And there's been better horses than this come over here, and they didn't run, and they didn't show up with their best race, or they just got beat. It's just not for me.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if he hits the board, but I'm not going to use him because I don't think you're going to get the proper price on him to do it.
Oh, yeah, everybody. I think most people in the chat saying that the UAE runners, they're always a toss here. Yeah, that's fine. Gentlemen, what else do you want to talk about? We didn't have as nearly as exciting of all the Barber Road talk yesterday. Took up most of our time. What kind of news else can we talk about? We've got Classic Causeway is still in. Mike, do you want to talk about your pace thing for a little bit?
Yeah. So I'll pull up some quick pace numbers here, and this is what kind of surprised me. So I pulled the last essentially since 2013. So since we switched over to the point system, and the paces for the Kentucky Derby, right? The first quarter, first half mile. The winner of the race, then where that winner was at the half mile point, and then for the final furlong. The interesting thing to me, so you see Orb, obviously the one horse that really made a big move around the far turn. The pace that day was 45.33 seconds for that opening half mile. We had two other 45s, one in 2016 where Nyquist was sitting second, was able to get the job done going 45.72. And then in 2018 where Justify 45.77 was sitting in second and able to kind of take control. Now, the key here to me is like note that everything else is, somewhere in that 46.53, 46.41. That's the faster version of this. When we compare this to what we've seen this year, these are the fastest half mile prep times. 46.68 is the fastest half mile prep time for two turns that we've seen out of any horse this year. That was Classic Causeway. That was at Tampa Bay. Cyberknifes was second with 46.82. Now that was in the Oklahoma Derby or the Arkansas Derby. You saw multiple horses in the Arkansas Derby, include Barber Road, run sub 47 seconds there. So there were quite a few horses that were packed up that went pretty quickly. Cyberknife was in third, I believe it was, at the half mile point in this race. So there's not that much pace this year. We keep talking about how there's a lot of horses that want to be forwardly placed. When you actually dive into how fast they have gone, it's significantly slower than anything we've seen over the last, I'd say, 5 or 6 years. And when you go back here and you look at this first slide, 4 of the last 5 winners went wire to wire. Justify was the one who didn't, which basically was wire to wire. All of those are running mid 46 times. You're probably going to see a mid 46 half again. And when I go back and I look at this and I say, okay, well, what horses are actually faster than what I think you see here? Messier jumps out to me. I think Zozos is clearly faster than that. You've got a couple horses that have run in 6 and 7 furlong races that have gone 45 and change, things like that. So they're capable of it, but will they actually do it? To me, this makes me a little more interested in Classic Causeway specifically, because I do think if he wants the lead, he gets it. And again, this points to whoever draws inside of Messier or Teba for me, because I think that's the other horse that is going to be close and pressing the pace.
That's some great stats there. Mike, you have a more in-depth video that will be available on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/racingdudes, and at racingdudes.com, going further in depth on this stuff. But that's some great information. You already got some people excited because you said Barber Road and the word quickly in the same sentence. And you weren't saying Barber Road will quickly back up once they start the race. So that was pretty good. Steve says Johnny V throwing out the deuce is sitting chilly. We've seen it twice before. Could it be a third time? Does he do it with Messier here after Authentic and Medina Spirit? Richard's of the opinion Epicenter is going to go to the lead and draw clear. Depending on how the draw shapes up, if Joel Rosario inherits the lead on Epicenter, I don't think any of us would be surprised if he does it. I think if they let him take it, I think that would be the surprising part. Go ahead.
Mike, wouldn't you say that the draw, like we've been saying it for weeks, this draw means so much. When you dive into these numbers, and you did, like, wouldn't you say it even means even more now? Because what I'm seeing is there's 4 or 5 horses that can get the lead. They're maybe not going to go fast, but where the position probably is going to determine it.
Yeah, it's going to make a huge difference. I mean, intent here is going to be really important in the first furlong. You're probably going to see, and if you go back to this first slide here, you can look at this. You see a lot of 22 and change first furlongs or first quarter miles, and then after that first quarter mile, the first of the 22 and change, you see them slow down. And I think you're going to see the exact same thing this year in the Derby. You're going to see a quick first quarter of a mile. That second quarter is going to be a lot slower. You may even get like a high 23, low 24 there. And whoever's up front, if they can do those fractions, you can get comfortable. And all of a sudden, that horse can get brave out on the lead. The obvious wild card here is Summers tomorrow, coming from the UAE Derby, set the pace there. The fractions on time form are unavailable specifically for that race just because of how different that track plays versus others. So Summers Tomorrow could be the curveball here and decide, hey, I'm just going to go nutty up front and come and get me and see what happens. If Classic Causeway goes with Summers Tomorrow and those two hook up, then kind of it's all bets are off. But right now, there isn't really a horse that's two horses that are going to hook up. And after that first furlong, I'd expect the pace to really back up a little bit. That's going to favor those horses sitting up front. And yes, this does kind of hurt Mo Donegal, right? If he's not able to sit close, it's going to be trouble for him. Zandon is going to have to try and sit closer and be able to make a lead if they want to make a push around this. If these fractions are a good prediction of what actually happens on the first Saturday in May.
So I'm glad you mentioned Zandon right at the end there, because I did the replay video for Zandon today, and Magic will have that out this weekend for you guys to watch. But he actually was asked for speed out of the gate in the Rimson and was able to get position. Mm-hmm. We've seen Flavian Pratt on a horse with a dead closer Country House get position. I keep telling people, don't expect Zandon to be in the back in this race. I think he's going to sit a little bit closer, kind of like you talked about, and kind of like how you're saying. It's very important that if they're going to have a chance, they better sit. We're not saying off the lead, but Zandon better not be last, or he's not going to win this thing.
Well, I think the concern for me would be that is, I think you also have to play. There are a lot of horses that like what we're seeing here that are going to be jockeying for early placement, which is going to pick that pace up faster early in the race, because all these horses are going to be trying to get position early. Taba, Classic Causeway. So, all those you see on the list, Cyberknife, Messier, Epicenter, they're all going to be, while they may not all end up on the lead, right? They're all going to be trying to get in their spots where they want, which is going to factor in with the pace setup. So if that happens and, one, Zandon tries to stay close early on, does he still have that same kick late in the race? Or two, they don't, and he's further back. Now, that's the interesting part. But I do think the pace itself, like what Samich is mentioning here, I think that kind of is going to factor in that we are going to have a pretty quick opening half of this race just based off of all these horses that do possess some sort of early speed.
And Aaron mentioned the draw. Drawing outside could be terrible in some cases as well with this many horses that want to stalk. You could see a horse 7 or 8 wide that's 2 lengths off the lead because you have all of these horses that are going to be jockeying for position, as you mentioned, Jared, which will create a tougher trip for those outside posts. Additionally, if someone like Classic Causeway or Summers Tomorrow draws outside, they've got to clear 17, 18 horses to get to the rail and get to the lead. That could change up how the pace dynamics play out as well. And God forbid if you don't break in that spot, it's just over, right? So there's a couple things that I think the draw becomes, and we've been talking about it. Last year it was really important. This year I think it is as important or more important than last year because you have legitimately 8 horses that could say they could make the lead if they wanted to. You have 2 that are definitely planning on it, but there's a lot of other horses that need to get position around that first turn. I don't want White Abario in the 17 post because if he's hung 4 wide around the first turn, that's a terrible spot for him. And yes, I talk about how he can make his own trip. He's got tactical speed. Tactical speed or not, you don't want to go 4 wide and try and win the Derby. That is not a route you're looking to take. And so drawing the 4 post for some of these horses, that means that they have tactical speed. They can get to the rail and have a couple horses in front of them and save ground, like kind of the War of Will trip, if you will, before he got cut off by Maximum Security. That could be the winning trip in this year's Derby because you're going to have a lot of horses that want to be 2 or 3 lengths within the lead, want to be saving some ground around both turns.
Kevin brings up a good question. Does Paco Lopez have a mount? Want to know who he's clobbering out of the gate this year? Did that with New York Traffic a couple of years ago. Paco was riding in due time, so I think he's probably going to pick up one of these lesser mounts, probably, right?
He may get in due time. May get in. We'll see.
Oh, that's right. He is. We still have time. Yeah,
he's close.
There's still time for Taba to back out, is what
right?
What Aaron is saying. without actually saying. Jared had to run, but here's a question for you, Mike. Of the horses that are on the screen, which ones are 100% need the lead types to have a chance to win?
To win?
Yes.
Classic Causeway, Cyberknife, and Summers Tomorrow. I don't think those 3 could win without the lead. Now, do I think Cyberknife is going to win even with the lead? No. Classic Causeway, of the 3, Classic Causeway I think has the best shot at wiring the field, although I think it is highly unlikely.
What do you think, Aaron?
I think that's a good list. I would add Zozo's on there. I think, for him to actually win, he's going to have to be in front. But I agree. And we've talked about Zozo's. I think he can hit the board. I think he's a long shot to include. But as far as winning, you're going to have to do what I'm saying. You're going to have to get 2-3 links ahead. You're going to have to just, wow, somehow Zozo's is out there, and just hold on. But I don't think that's likely. The Classic Causeway thing is interesting. I do kind of think he makes the turn as the leader. I just don't have a lot of faith in him staying up, just like Samich said. But listen, if he gets out to the easy lead, maybe he can get brave and take him.
Well, you got to think that Florida Derby was too bad to believe.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of I'm not going to say he's Mandaloun because I think Mandaloun is better than Classic Causeway. But Mandaloun last year was the horse that ran the too bad to believe prep race and came back and ran well in the Derby. And you got 33-1 on him when he was legitimately one of the top 2 or 3 betting favorites in the future pools the entire time before a too bad to believe race, which had absolutely no reason for being so bad. And that's kind of the same place we're sitting with Classic Causeway now, where like Walsh has no idea why this horse ran so poorly. He's like, I'm not sure what happened. We were working out well. We're going to go back to the Derby, right? So it's like you're back in one of those situations with the too bad to believe. And that's the only reason I think Classic Causeway has some type of chance. But I still think it is a long shot.
Totally agree that it's too bad to believe. He's way better than that. My problem runs deeper. His 2 wins in Tampa, they were impressive, but wow, there was nothing in those races. Those horses have all come back to not run very well, where you had Mandaloun, who had beaten nice horses at Fairgrounds, just not that last one. So I think that's the difference between the two. But you're right. He is way better than what he showed in the Florida Derby. I don't know what happened to him that day.
Yeah.
It might have been that he came back too soon, right?
Could have been.
Well, and they said he was working out gangbusters before that, and they had to enter him because it was going so good. And so when you see that, and you're like, and you realize who's in there, right? You're like, that White Abarrio's in there and Charget's in there, and we're still choosing to do this. I thought that showed a lot of confidence, and then to come up that empty was a little bit of a head scratcher. Shotty brings up a good one here too. Simplification, probably one of the more confusing horses to guess what's going to happen in the Derby. He has the bad habit of rocking in the gate. If you watch a couple of his races, and when you rock in the gate, you generally don't break very well. It's exactly what happened in 2 of the 3 major preps in Florida. But in the other 2, wins wire to wire in the Mucho Macho Man, and then comes back and is right there on the pace and holds on for 3rd in the Florida Derby. What do you guys think Simplification is going to do? What would you like Simplification to do? And any interest in the horse? Aaron, you want to go first?
I would love to see him on the lead or close to the lead. I think he has less than 0% chance if he's not. We've seen, I'm not going to call it elite speed, but we've seen very good speed from this horse when he gets out of the gate. So that, to me, that's his shot to make an impact, is get out in front. And I think he'll stay. I don't think it'll be like he's flying down the lane if he gets out in front, or at least is in the first pack. But I think he can, if a couple of horses from the back don't get through, and it's just kind of the ones that are out there in front are going to be the ones that hit the board, he all of a sudden becomes a player. Now, if he is way out of it, forget it. I don't want any part of him. So hopefully he breaks well. Hopefully he gets a decent position. I don't want any part of him either way. He's not going to be on my tickets, but I do admit he's consistent as far as where he finishes in his races, not his running style. And I do admit he's good enough to be a factor if he can get the right trip.
I think that he could. If I bet Simplification, I'm with you, Aaron. He's not going to be on my tickets. But if I bet him to win, I want him to break clean, and I want to see him kind of outside and probably 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, somewhere around there, and just stay clear. A horse like him, he needs to stay in a position where he can't get trapped inside, where horses are going to slow down in front of him. And he needs to keep epicenter in his sights. You need to keep epicenter in your sights. If Taba is around, you need to know where those 2 horses are, because when they move, you need to be right there with them. That's the only way you have a shot, if you're Simplification, of trying to beat those. Or maybe you have to try and time it to beat them, but you have to be within range into the far turn. So if I bet Simplification to win, that's where I want to see him to win. But yeah, I'm with you guys. I just don't think there's enough there to want to bet him to win.
I got to break into this. Oscar Performance wins his first race as a sire in his first start. Flavian Pratt on the 4-horse gets Oscar Performance up at a decent price, probably 6 or 7 to 1, I'm guessing. So I tweeted about this. Oscar Performance had his first 2 horses. This is like I'm really excited about Oscar Performance as a sire this year. I think he's going to have a huge season. 1 early, 1 often. He's super fast. He is now 1 for 2 because he had 2 horses in this race, but 1 for 2 with a turf sprint victory.
Aaron, I think we might have talked about this horse, didn't we?
Yeah, we sure did. And I was watching it as I don't know, Magic. I think you were talking, and the Wesley Ward horse was 3-5, and turned for home here, and kind of looked like, okay, he's going to win. And then this Oscar Performance horse, it was the number 4, and the winner just came rolling and won very easy. Wasn't really asked for his best. So yes, Magic, you tipped me off on this horse. This was a nice race.
I love Mendez and Pratt. It's a fun time. Steve was there the day he broke his maiden at Saratoga. Oscar Performance, was he which one was the miler and which one was Oscar nominated was the longer distance one, right? His older brother.
Yeah.
Oscar Performance was my single in the Breeders' Cup mile at Churchill, and that was over in about half a second because he was a need the lead type and he blew the I remember I just looked at it and literally ripped the ticket and just sat down.
Yeah.
Not great. Anyways, let's get back to the Derby here. Aaron, the horse that you drafted in the first round of our fantasy league is finally being brought up. Jack Christopher, other 3-year-olds on Derby Day, the Pat Day Mile we were talking about, that was in the chat earlier about the horses that might show up for that. Any horses that you're excited to see on Derby Day that aren't going to be in the Derby?
It's interesting because we just don't have a lot of the probables yet. They've sent us, Churchill Downs has sent us kind of a list, but there's like 4 or 5 horses in each race. I mean, I'm excited to see Jack Christopher and see what he does. I have no expectations one way or the other of this horse. It's hard to say how he's going to come back, but I remember being very, very excited to see him at the Breeders' Cup, and he scratched. So yeah, I'm excited. Again, he's one that, look at the horses he was beating as a 2-year-old. They weren't very good. I don't know how he's going to come back. He looked awfully good as a 2-year-old. Hopefully he comes back strong.
Mike, what about you? 3-year-old that you're excited to see on Derby Day?
Oh man, I don't even know. I'm gonna have to see who the turf horses are. I'm not really excited in any of the other dirt horses, man. I don't think that the depth is that great. Like when we get back to sprinting on some of these, I think it might get interesting again. I love looking at the horses that were on the Derby trail and then get cut back to sprinters because hey, that's what they should have been doing the whole freaking time. But we got some Derby fever, which is totally normal. I mean, I get that. You want to get a horse in the gate, so I get it if you try and stretch them out a little too early. But you see some horses that were tried to go longer, and then when they came back to sprinting, they became some of the best sprinters in the world. I'm excited to see if we have any of those out of this 3-year-old class specifically. I think we'll probably have a couple, so should be interesting to see who's running there. And then I'm interested in kind of some of the turf horses too. I think we've got a pretty good turf class going too.
Yep.
I'm excited. Hopefully, I don't know if she's for sure going to run, but Dolce Zell would be fun to see, the Florida Oaks winner. I don't know if she's going to go there or not. She was second in the Appalachian last out, so she'd be a lot of fun for Chad Brown, but he always brings some good ones there. Gentlemen, I think chat's slowing down a little bit. We didn't have as much Barber Road talk today. That's fine. Listen, we will be back again tomorrow on Friday, April 29th at 10 Pacific, 12 Central, 1 Eastern. Right here. If you want to make sure that you don't miss it, go to youtube.com/racingdudes, subscribe to the channel, and click the little notification bell. You will get alerted as soon as we go live on this one. We've got a couple of fun things coming up this weekend still. On Friday, tomorrow, April 29th, is the 3rd Racing Dudes Tournament Challenge. Mike, do you want to talk about that real quick here before we get out?
Yeah, for sure. If you're a premium subscriber of racingdudes.com, then there is not a better time to be one. You get the guides for free as a premium subscriber, which means that you're getting the Derby guide and the Preakness guide here in the next month. So you're getting your money back just with those 2 guides. Additionally, you're eligible to buy into the Derby, the Dudes Tournament Challenge, which is every other Friday over at horsetourneys.com. It's a $10 tournament. You get to compete against us, and the top subscriber also gets $150 in bonus credits. One of my favorite things is we do a live show for this, so we'll be live tomorrow. I think it's 4:30 to 5:30, covering the final tournament races, talking about specifically tournament handicapping styles, why we picked horses we did, who's in the lead. We'll have those people in the chat. They'll be talking about it, so make sure you check that out. It's an absolute blast. And I think it's fun because you also get to compare yourself. So NHC and the big cash tournaments, we're using the same races, so you can get to see how you do against those fields as well.
We're going to have the 4 Racing Dudes team members. Dr. Miranda will join us as well. She won it last week. It was over about halfway through for that. But it's a lot of fun. And, yeah, we'll be live tomorrow in the afternoon, as Mike said, covering the back half of that. It's a lot of fun. Even if you're not a premium member or you're not yet and you're kind of interested, join us for the live show. It'll be right here on YouTube. It'll be a lot of fun, and you can see kind of what the game is and what we're trying to do here. Aaron, if we come into the show tomorrow, what will be the headline?
Oh, geez.
Tomorrow's headlines today.
Samich crushed Belmont. So happy it's back, baby.
The maiden
it was
40 at the end.
a nice winner to start at Belmont. I really don't think there'll be a lot of news tomorrow. I don't know. Samich crushes Belmont. Sure, we'll go with that. I don't know. If you're going to hear any news about horses dropping out, it's probably going to be over the weekend, not tomorrow. So I don't think there'll be too much news tomorrow. I think it'll kind of quiet down for a day or two as these horses, kind of prep for their final workouts this weekend.
Speaking of workouts, I didn't bring this up, but I just saw Nick brings it up. Taba he was wearing blinkers for sure. When we were showing that work, he had blinkers on, and he didn't have it on for the race. I think they do work him in blinkers regularly, because I remember the photos we had when he was a 2-year-old, he was consistently working in blinkers. Don't worry about that so much when it comes to the works. If they make the equipment change for the Kentucky Derby, that's when we go, ooh, this might not be so great. But anyways, thank you so much.
It's just another reason why workouts are crazy. It's not even wearing the same. So it's just another reason why workouts can be really tough to judge. And you just kind of got to have some type of faith whether or not these horses. If he's in the Derby, you got to believe in him, right?
Yep.
Also today, I forgot today's Thursday. So later on today, we have 3 more live shows. This is the first of 4 live shows on the Racing Dudes YouTube channel today. Jesus. We have the Magic Mike show will be at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific. Mike and I are covering the late pick 4 at Golden Gate Fields on Saturday. It's part of the Gold Rush weekend. We're having track announcer simulcast host Matt Dinnerman on to join us. So Matt will give us his best handicapping angles and talk about the local horses facing the Southern California Invaders. So that's at 5 Eastern today. Blinkers off. Aaron, I assume you guys will be on shortly after we get done.
Yeah, I think we'll be probably 8 Eastern, 7 Central, or maybe 7:30, 6:30, something like that. As you guys saw, if you were watching earlier, Jared has his kids, so it's always kind of when can we get them settled down? When are mom and dad there or Jared's mom and dad there to watch them? And so, we'll see. It'll be something like that. And Dudes Who Bet Sports will be on in about an hour and 15 minutes as well. So, a lot going on.
3 Eastern
draft today, isn't there?
That's right. Yes, we're covering the NFL draft today, so that'll be fun.
Jesus, that time of the year already. My goodness. Yeah, it's almost May. Wow, it is almost May. That means, as James said in the chat, let's fucking go. 9 days. The kids aren't around. We can swear again. It's okay. We got 9 days to the Derby, 8 days to the Kentucky Oaks. Make sure you're going to racingnews.com for free picks for every race, every track across the country, and full coverage of the Derby and the Oaks leading up to the big days. For Aaron Halterman and Mike Samich, I am Simply Magic. Jared was here. He doesn't care enough to say goodbye, but thank you for joining us. We'll see you guys again tomorrow, same time, same place. See ya.